What up, YouTube? It's your boy Cash RK1 back in here with another video, man. Today I got a very special video, man. It's basically shooting sacred cows. And this is a video produced by Robert Kiyosaki. If you don't know who that is, that's the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Video I seen years and years back, but it still applies to this day. And it's just going through all the sacred cows or reasons why people are broke. Even in 2026, these sacred cows are still keeping people broke to this day. So without further ado, we're going to get on to the video. I think this one's going to be kind of long because it's a multi-part video. And I was going to try to chop this up and do multiple videos, but I think it might be better just to do it all in one take. So let's get to it.
But one of the biggest sacred cows of all is go to school. And many people think I'm anti-school. That is not true. I'm anti-ignorance. So I'm very pro-education. I'm just not pro being stupid about money.
I think that's true, that what you said is education is more important now than it's ever been.
Right.
So the problem is that the schools focus just on two kinds of education. There's the academic, which is really important. Reading, writing, arithmetic, you need to have it, that's basic. And the second type of education they give is the professional kind of education. So if you want to be a lawyer or an accountant or a teacher, then you need to go to school and get those certifications. But the one kind of education that's lacking severely in the school system as it stands is financial education.
I 100% agree with that. We do not really have any type of financial education in school. I think the most financial education we had in high school was they taught us how to balance a checkbook. But other than that, that was really it. They didn't teach us about credit, taxes, debt, insurances. They taught us none of that. So it is what it is. Now you got to take it upon yourself and do your own research and kind of get your own financial education, your own financial literacy. Because I think he said it in one video. That's actually Robert Kiyosaki on the screen, the Asian guy. I think he said it in a video before he kind of came out on the scene, him and other people. Financial literacy wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even a phrase or a word that people put together, which is crazy. And back to what she was saying about the educational part and going to school, they didn't mention in this video the cost of going to school. Because that's another thing that's also part of that financial education. People just going to school for all type of different degrees and just signing up for debt, not understanding the debt, the interest, the payback, the amortization. None of those things are just signing paperwork and then going to school, getting a degree, and getting out and finding out them degrees is worthless. And even the ones that are supposed to be worth something, they almost becoming obsolete today.
An important part of financial education is having a financial statement, which is an income statement and a balance sheet. Now, when you go to your banker always asks you for your financial statement, not your report card, because your financial statement is your report card once you leave school. Your financial statement will tell you whether or not you're smart with money or not smart with money, because that financial statement is your report card of your financial intelligence.
I put on my Facebook one day that we need to teach our children financial education, and I received a comment back from a teacher that said, "Who's going to pay for it? We're all going to pay for it."
I wholeheartedly agree. We are paying for it right now. It's a lot of people financially illiterate. Like they don't even have barely any basic knowledge about finances. And I ain't gonna lie, finances get so deep. I've been kind of doing my own self-education on financial literacy for some years now. And every time I scratch the surface on something new, the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper. And it all depends on how successful you want to be. I want to be successful as possible. So I keep on scratching through them layers, but it gets deep. I look around and I see people don't even have basic financial education as far as just basic things with credit, as far as utilization, what everything that comes in a credit profile. But I'm gonna get on to the next sacred cow. That's basically go to school is the first one.
And the next sacred cow is get a job, or go to school and get a job. Now, the problem with getting a job is, who do you think pays the most taxes? The owner of the business or the worker? To that, I'll turn to my accountant here, Tom.
And before he gets into that, that's my point right there. As an employee, they pay the biggest amount in taxes. Even people that's employees / business owners, they pay less in taxes, and there's ways to offset those taxes. Consult your accountants. You get what I'm saying? Like, people don't even know this. They just thinking, okay, I'm working a job and why can't I never get ahead? Well, because the number one expense when you just an employee is taxes. And some places high as 50, 60% in taxes. That means, in a nutshell, half of your working hours is for taxes. And people don't know different ways to offset those taxes. They don't even usually use the tax breaks that employees get. It's tax breaks for employees too, but people don't know them because they don't have accountants because they usually can't afford them, so they don't take advantage of them.
Well, it's clearly the employee who's paying the most taxes. And, you know, I started as an employee right out of school, and I was paying high taxes. Even though my job is to reduce taxes, I was paying high taxes. And then I started, I know, ironic, isn't it? and then about 15 years ago, I started my own business. I started my own CPA firm, and I was now self-employed, and I was even paying more taxes.
Hold on. I had to stop it right there. So he's basically an accountant, and when he had a job and as an accountant, his job was to reduce taxes, but he was paying more in taxes. Think about that.
So it wasn't until I started acting like a bigger business and was really a significant size business that I started paying less taxes. And
hold on, I don't want to gloss over that. Hold on. So basically, he just said once he was self-employed, he started acting as a bigger business and became a bigger business and paid less in taxes. So that tells me that even if you're a small business, you have to operate and move as if you are a big business before you become a big business, because you start getting those tax breaks. And then as you get bigger, you start paying less and less and less in taxes. And it's crazy how that works, because in most people's mind, logically thinking, you'll think the people that's making the most should pay the most. But it's the opposite. The people that make the most pay the least, and the people that's self-employed pay the most, and then right up under them is the people who are employed. It's because the business owner is hiring so many employees. So the IRS looks at it like, why would we take from this one entity being a business versus all of their employees? If they got 10, 20, 30 employees, it makes more sense to take it from them. Also, they want the business owner to hold on to more of the capital to keep growing, to hire more people. And it stimulates this whole economic system.
And it's good because it's the business owners, and it's the entrepreneurs, and it's the investors, the active investors, that really pay the least amount of taxes.
Time out. During this program, you'll hear a lot about ESB and I, also known as the cash flow quadrant. E stands for employee. Employees have a job. S stands for self-employed small business or specialist, like a doctor or lawyer. These people own a job. B stands for big business, 500 employees or more, and these people have other people working for them. And I stands for an investor, and investors have their money work for them.
This is not financial advice. Please consult your accountants and your CPAs to verify this information. And I'm going to kind of go on to the next sacred cow. That's enough for this one, which is work hard.
The next sacred cow is work hard. Because my poor dad, a school teacher, great guy, PhD, he always says, I'm a good, hard-working man. And my rich dad had a different point of view, and he had me read this book by Mark Twain. It was a story of how, I think it was Huckleberry Finn or somebody, got the other kids to paint the fence for him. He says, that's working hard. You want other people to work hard for you, and you want your money to work hard for you. That was his lesson. And a lot of people really, they can't wait till Friday because they hate their work so much, and they dread Sunday because they have to go back to work. With us, I would say most of us are working 24/7, but we're working differently. And I love our work.
I wanted to stop it right there because y'all heard what he said. Basically, your money and other people should be working hard for you. And that's a huge mind glitch right there, because most of us are used to going to work, putting our 40 or 40 plus hours to work for a paycheck. You got to find ways to make this money work harder than you, because money can work 24/7. And if you have people working for you, you can get way more done. You can compress 100 hours into a day. That's 10 people working 10 hours. That's 100 hours of labor.
Challenging, there's problems and all that stuff, but I love it. So we work hard, but we don't work hard in the normal sense of working hard. The problem with working hard for money, because the rich don't work for money. The problem with working hard for money is you pay more in what, Tom?
Taxes.
Exactly. That's what working hard do for you. You paying more in taxes. And also, when he said the rich don't work for money, the rich work hard to build assets. That means whenever they done building an asset, it's gonna pay them forever, and it's gonna keep paying. And usually, it's gonna pay whether they doing the work or not, or it might be little involvement from them.
Taxes. The harder you work for money, the more you will pay in taxes, right?
Well, right. If instead of working hard for money, like you're talking about, instead if you work for assets, then you pay a lot less taxes because the tax law, again, is geared towards building assets. Because as we build assets, we build the economy.
Time out. The big difference between E's and S's and B's and I's, E's and S's focus on the income statement, and B's and I's focus on the asset column. My rich dad simply said to me, he says, assets put money in your pocket whether you work or not, and liabilities take money from your pocket.
Now, just let that marinate for a second, right? Think about how many things where you can do the work once and it keeps paying you. Prime example, these YouTube videos. I don't get paid from YouTube. I'm not monetized. Hopefully, I will be at some point. But you have people on YouTube making videos one time, and that same video is paying them every month. It's an asset. Same thing like properties. It's paying you once a month. That's an asset. Same thing like dividend paying stocks. You put your money in once and it kicks out a little bit quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. It's an asset. But that's the mind frame we want to get into if we want to build wealth.
And now we're going to the sacred cow of save money. And in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. Basically took the world off the gold standard, and money was no longer money. So people are no longer saving money. So just to reiterate again, this is $300, what an ounce of gold was worth in the year 2000. So Kim, lift that. Okay. All right. And so this here is 1 ounce of gold in the year 2010, and it's now $1,100. Ugh. And this is why people are working so hard.
I can do it. I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Barely.
So the big reason I've said in my books for years that savers were losers is very simply because in 1971, the dollar stopped being money. It became debt, right?
So basically what he's saying right here, in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, meaning at one point in time, the dollars were backed by gold. So however many dollars you had in your possession represented how much actual gold you had in a bank vault. That's no longer the situation. He took it off the gold standard, and then dollars became debt. And once dollars become debt, that means the value of the dollars is going down every year. Like you just said on the video, it was $300 when she had the small bag. It was $300 in 2000, and then over time it became $1,100 in quarters. So you see the difference. So basically, every year on the value of the dollar is going down. That's why the price of everything keep rising. So to offset that, the only thing you can do is get assets that appreciate. That way, as these dollars are going down in value, the value of your asset is going up.
Mike?
Yeah, the rules all changed in 71. Before then, somebody, when they became working age, they could expect to put away 10% a year, and by the time they got into their 60s, they could retire on their savings account and expect to live off that interest. And in 71, everything changed, and they started creating currency on a massive scale.
Worldwide.
Ever since then, worldwide. And that is what causes inflation and the loss of purchasing power. So people thinking that they can retire, back in the 50s, if you got $100,000 or $50,000, you could retire on that.
So for my mom and dad, the World War II generation, the industrial age generation, it was very smart to save money. For our generation, the baby boom generation and on, saving money could be the most stupid thing you can do because the system is stealing your wealth through the very thing you work for called money, which is not money anymore.
So basically, while we're trying to save money, the value of that dollar is going down. So you saving $10,000 and having it in the bank year over year, that $10,000 is not going to be able to purchase $10,000 worth of stuff. You're going to need 15,000. You're going to need 12,000 to purchase with 10,000 what it got you today. A couple years down the line, you're going to need 12,000. And then what's on the screen right there, it says fractional reserve. That's what they do, fractional reserve lending. And what that is when you give the bank $100, they lend that $100 out to 10 people. So they turn your 100 into 1,000 in borrowing power. They let 10 people borrow 100, that's $1,000. Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to save your way to wealth. You're gonna have to get some financial education, pay for some courses, go to some conferences, get some financial literacy, read some books, change the crowd you're around, and elevate your mind and start thinking about how money really works.
And now, for our next sacred cow, one of our favorite ones, live below your means. How many of you here do not like living below your means?
No.
That's no fun. It kills people's spirits. And why would you want to live below your means? But many people have to, unfortunately, because the Fed is printing so much money that taxes and inflation go up, which means people are forced to live below their means. So,
now, it's crazy they talking about taxes and inflation and things like that going up, because we seeing hyperinflation, and taxes is going crazy right now. But the live below your means part, I get what they saying, and basically, in my opinion, it's like you have to live below your means for a time period. But overall, the goal should be to increase your means, meaning you got to get your overhead in check. That's what I'm going to call it. We ain't going to say living below your means. Get your overhead in check to where you have a low overhead and you're comfortable. And then with that excess, with the extras, you use that to invest and grow your means. At some point, you have the means to buy whatever you want, but you have to go through their process. And most people don't want to live below their means. Too many people living at their means to where exactly what they making is exactly what they spend as far as their lifestyle go. And that's not going to work, because the first sign of a hiccup, now everything you built comes tumbling down. The house you've been paying a mortgage on, you lose it. The house you've been renting or apartment you've been renting, you lose it. The car you've been paying a car note on, you lose it. Soon as the first hiccup comes, because you want to live at your means.
anybody make comments on living below your means?
Well, if you're on a paycheck, you have that one income coming in, and if you're just one person, you've only got 24 hours in a day to work. So there is a limit to how much you can work to get those paychecks coming in. So in that situation, you are forced to live below your means.
Well, and the key here is to raise your means. I mean, that's the idea. It's not that we want to, be in terrible credit card debt or something like that. Instead, let's raise our means, and so that we can live the way we want to live instead of living at this poverty level.
And that's the part I like right there. You want to get your expenses in check, but I see too many people, they put too much focus on living below their means or lowering their expenses. Even if your expenses, the lowest they can go, the lowest is zero. You can't go below zero. So that means it's more important to increase your means, because there is no limit on it.
Now we're going to shoot one of the more evil of all the sacred cows. Evil for most people. Get out of debt. And a lot of people are saying, cut up your credit cards. I think that's really ridiculous, because a credit card is not the problem.
And I just wanted to stop this real quick and see, hey, y'all peep, that boy got that black card. And that's even way back then. And for those who don't know what the black card is, that's an Amex black card. It's an invite-only type of card. You got to spend at least $250,000 a year on that card to even qualify to get it. You know what I mean? You cannot apply for that card. It's invite-only. And mind you, these videos probably was posted 6 to 8 years ago or something like that. I'm not really sure. But as you can see, if you know who Robert Kiyosaki is, he's pretty young on her. So these videos are way old. And he had the black card even way back then. I peeped it. Y'all peeped it? That boy been getting money for a long time.
In fact, I love my credit cards. I don't know how anybody could get along today without a credit card. But the credit card isn't the problem. It's lack of financial education is the problem.
The entire currency supply, all of the dollars in existence, require debt. You can't have a dollar without debt. A dollar is just an IOU. It's borrowed into existence either by the government creating a bond which promises to pay interest. You've got to pay out of future taxes, or people create currency by taking out a loan at the bank. Fractional reserve lending. Every month there's a payment due on those dollars that you created.
Right, and this credit card is a fast way of creating money because there's really no money in this card. See, let's say I go to the store, there's no money in it, and I charge $100. Like magic, $100 is created and it flows into the economy. That's why debt is good. But when you abuse this, that's when we get in trouble. So I think, Mr. Rodney here, you see the horror stories of bad debt, don't you?
Yeah, I see people walk into my office that make $150,000 a year, but they have $250,000 in credit card debt.
Dang, $250,000 in credit card debt. That is egregious. But basically, right now, what they're talking about is good debt and bad debt. Now, I'm going to break down what that is. Bad debt is like what he just said. Credit card debt, car loans, basically any type of consumer debt. Good debt is debt used to buy something that's going to pay you. So if you take out a loan to start a business, you take out a loan to buy a rental property, those are examples of good debt.
Let's face it, we live in a credit society, and you do have to have credit. And we have to learn how to survive and thrive in our credit economy that we are. But, people are walking in and they have this bad debt. They're asking, what do we do with it? Well, number one, you try to pay off the bad debt so you can invest in good debt, which would be real estate.
It's no secret that the California housing bubble has popped with hardships spread wide. Real estate expert Robert Kiyosaki predicted all of this would happen back in 2005, but most people didn't listen.
It's the biggest financial bubble in the history of the world. So I have the benefit of traveling the entire world. All markets go up, all markets come down. So the market will come back. But right now, it's going to be a sled ride down. It might be down for a long time simply because it's going to take more of a down payment because nobody trusts anybody anymore.
It's crazy. That was basically back in, I think, the 2008, 2009 housing crash or whatever. And like you said, it's going to come back, but it start taking more of a down payment because nobody trusts nobody no more.
And the next big sacred cow is your home is an asset. See, in 1997, I wrote in Rich Dad Poor Dad, your house is not an asset. And at that point, every realtor stopped sending me Christmas cards.
And I agree. The reason why he said that is because according to the definition of an asset he gave earlier, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket whether you work or not. And a liability is something that takes money out your pocket. So even if you own your home, you got a mortgage, you got maintenance, you got utilities, all these different things. It takes money out your pocket every month. So according to his definition of an asset, it's not an asset.
Because your home is not your asset. Your home is actually your bank's asset if you could read a financial statement.
I had to stop this for that. Did you just hear that? That was a major key. Your house is not your asset. It's the bank's asset if you can read a financial statement. Because what he means is if you break down your financial statement and the bank's financial statement, one of the liability columns on your financial statement, it will be your house, the mortgage, how much you owe, and the monthly payment. If you look at a financial statement of the banks, when it says assets in the asset column, it will have your same mortgage, how much you owe, and how much you pay them every month. Y'all see how this game go?
So, Kenny, you own lots of real estate.
Yes.
Is your home an asset?
No, not my personal residence.
A lot of people are in trouble today.
Yeah. It doesn't produce any revenue. I pay the bank every month. It's the bank's asset.
Yeah, and what everybody's telling me, my house has appreciated in value. Again, that's capital gains versus cash flow. And what the people are finding out now that the real estate market has crashed, and this is all over the world, the value of their home has been sucked out. And so now somehow people are upside down because they're really finding out it's a liability because they still have to pay the bank on that mortgage. So let's say they bought a house for $200,000, they still owe $180,000, but the house is only worth $100,000 now. And they're now finding out that your house is not an asset, it's a liability.
I absolutely agree. Your house is not an asset because it can go up and down in value. An asset is something that creates cash flow, meaning cash flows from the asset to your pockets. Now, if your asset go up in value or your house go up in value, the rental property goes up in value and you getting cash flow, that's like a double whammy. But whether that house goes up or down, this rental property will still produce cash flow either way because rents don't go down. The value of the house might go up and down, but rents never go down. Rents always go up. You see what I'm going with this? So your house is not an asset because you paying for the house. It's taking money out your pocket every month and not putting money in your pocket. And anything that goes up or down in value, that's speculation. You can't control that. You can't time the market to buy this rental property and then it goes up, or buy your house and then it goes up. Now, over time, we know houses eventually do go up over time, but they also have the opportunity to crash, just like stocks. They go up and down. But the stocks that'll be considered an asset, the ones that pay dividends.
After 1974, the rules of retirement changed, and suddenly it forced E's and S's into the I quadrant with no financial education, and they started to put their money into these retirement plans. And suddenly, voila, a whole new industry was born called financial planners. And today, it takes 30 days to become a financial planner. It still takes a year and a half to become a massage therapist.
You see that right there? What that's telling you. It takes 30 days to become a financial planner. So you really got to vet your financial advisors and your financial planners, because what he just said, basically in a nutshell, they don't know nothing. If it takes a year and a half to become a massage therapist and 30 days for you to help me guide myself with my finances, how are you qualified? More than likely, you're not.
You know what I mean? What do you think of mutual funds?
I think they're a great way to make money if you sell them to other people. Well, I think it's one of the worst places a person could put money. They really do. They make other people rich. You know, hidden fees, expense ratios, and you talk about the law of compound interest. Well, there's the law of compound expenses.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If I say to you, invest for the long term, you know what I mean, for 30, 40 years, what do you think about that in a paper asset?
You've lost control that quick. Liquidity is what paper assets are about. Your ability to sell and buy without negotiation problems. And so the moment you say, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to hold Enron, I'm going to hold WorldCom, and I'm going to hold, GM, and I'm going to hold United Airlines, or you just go on and on.
How about Pan Am?
Yeah. But the moment you decide to hold that, what control do you have?
None.
In real estate, you can force the appreciation, paint it, carpet. You can't do that with paper.
Right. Well,
Your only control is to sell. If you hold it forever, you're rolling the dice and saying, I hope it works out.
Right. There's a lot of paper.
Now, in my opinion, I like real estate better. I think real estate has way more benefits than stocks, but stocks has a lot of benefits too, especially if you know the game. The whole thing is about being financially literate to play either game, both games, or whichever game you like. Because there's some stock guys out here making a killing in a multitude of ways because they study and understand the game. Me personally, I like real estate. It's a reason why real estate has made about 80% of millionaires till this day. So with them type of numbers, I like real estate and I'm going real estate. I do deal and dabble in stocks and I'm studying stocks a little bit, but I'm more of a real estate type. Well, that was the last Sacred Cow, y'all. Let me know what y'all think about it. I know the video was kind of long, but it was very informative. If you get a chance, go watch every one of them clips from top to bottom. Just type in the Sacred Cows, Robert Kiyosaki, and a list of 7, 8, 10, depending on which channel you watch it on, videos will pop up. I watched that video in its entirety, and I couldn't find the one I used to watch where it had from the beginning to the end, all the way straight through. I watched it 1,000,000 times, literally. I watched it so much to where it became like a movie. When you know the words, it got like that for me. And I just was thinking in my memory banks, I'm like, let me go back and see if that video is still available. Do a nice review on it. I know this video kind of long. If you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope the information helps you. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.